Fortnite just dropped an update ahead of grand finals this weekend, and it has now affected a lot of teams, mostly the lone wolf teams like Clix and Malabuka. We also got to see how these teams played out in an Eval Cup finals, the last finals for FNCS. So I want to talk about who's looking good and who's now struggling with this update. We also have the reload prize pool being announced for the Pro-Am, how the $500,000 is going to be split. Some people really like it, some people are really upset. I also want to talk about what is going on with Fortnite hiring a new head of competitive and what it means for the game going forward. There's a lot to talk about. Let's jump into it. Let's kick off talking about the new update. You're probably thinking, Aussie, what update? Now, it was a pretty small update. Grants is about a week away, so I'm happy they didn't change a whole bunch of weapons, but as seems to be the theme with the last few seasons, Fortnite has nerfed and buffed some drops pretty massively less than a week out from Grants. So first off, we had Lone Wolf Lair getting nerfed because Pumped Power has been buffed. I'll talk about that in detail in a bit more second. And then we had the fact that Shiny Shafts, for some reason, has just been heavily nerfed because all of the metal kind of gold like veins around the Shiny Shafts have gone from metal to brick. Now, you can still get max metal at Shiny Shafts. It hasn't completely nerfed them, but it does make their looting a lot slower. And we have players who are dropping here pointing this out, like A-Not on OC, who's not too happy about this because it's going to slow down their entire rotate. Instead of getting metal and the faster gold pickaxe swing speed, they now have to go farm their metal elsewhere and then leave these behind. So it's a small nerf compared to how big of a nerf that Lone Wolf just got. Because Pump Power now has dill bits, they've added a bunch of dill bits around the map to different POIs, Pump Power being the main one. This now means that Lone Wolf Lair no longer gets pretty much any of the exotics out of Magic Mosses. So previously, before this update, Magic Moss team would normally drop in because they had the quest, they get extra dill bit out of the chest, and they could either buy the collateral mythic assault rifle, they could buy the exotic accelerated hollow twister, or they could buy the chug jug. Now, most teams opted to go for the chug jug in stack set lobbies, and then the collateral if they were W king, which meant the team at Lone Wolf would get one of the other two because they were the nearest team that also had a dill bit. Now, in the most recent update, Pump Power now gets 4 dill bit spawns, which they get pretty much at least one every single game, even with the low percentages, so they get to buy whatever the Magic Mosses team doesn't. So today, in the Eval Cup Finals, for example, on EU and NA, we had the Magic Mosses team buying the exotic Chug Jug. That's normal, but by the time the Lone Wolf team got to the black market, they cannot buy the mythic collateral. Now, Malabuka's team has been using this a fair bit, but Clix's team has especially been using this. They literally called it the Clix AR. Like, he has used it every single game, opens, set lobbies, it does not matter. Clix's team was absolutely loving that mythic collateral, and now they don't get their hands on it. So they still get to get all of the slurp splashes, they still get to get all of the loot inside the black market anyway, so it's not like Lone Wolf is now a terrible drop and Clix and Malabuka's FNCS is ruined, but it is a pretty significant nerf, so much so that Clix has now changed their entire strategy. In the Eval Cup Finals today, which I'll talk about in a little bit, Clix's team did not go for the black market at all in the early game. They waited until it was in Storm most games, then rotated into Storm after getting their surge, and then bought all the meds. It was a completely different strategy out of Clix. Clix talked about how he wasn't going to stream tournaments up until Grand. He's a man of his word. He did not stream it. He said he was going to try out some new strategies, and they definitely did. I had to watch this in replays. They basically got their loot at Lone Wolf, sat up on Lone Wolf, started getting their surge, making sure they're getting enough, and then rotated to the black market. If you've watched any of Clix's gameplay before this update, though, they would go straight to the black market every single time, get the assault rifle, get all their meds, rotate out, and then start getting their surge. So it's a very, very big change from what has been pretty much a minor update. It's hard to tell whether Clix would have just changed his strategy regardless of the assault rifle, because again, they said they were going to change things up after groups. That was before this update. I don't think they knew this was going to happen. It might just be the fact that they know in grand finals surge thresholds are way higher, so they need to get more surge before then going getting the meds, but they didn't manage to win a game in the finals. So it's interesting to point out that again, Clix, Higgs, and Yomzo, usually the Eval Cup champions, with this new strategy didn't get a win, but don't panic, they did get a second, a seventh, a third, and a third. So they were the most consistent team on the day, just unfortunately didn't get the win. The 4 wins on A, one of them went to Ritual, Cold, and Peterbot. Pete was getting contested at Crime City by multiple teams and also got dropped on at the server farm. So it was a bit of a rough finals for Pete, but they still did very, very well, at least getting one 10 Elam win and a 14 Elam fourth where they were popping off. We had Muzz, Yapko, and Rise get a 10 Elam win, a 10 Elam fourth, and a 7 Elam third. So Muzz, Yapko, and Rise, despite the nerf, Shattered, not a huge nerf to the span, the shafts, oh my gosh, they still did really, really well. Then we had Rapid Booga Threats, they also got a win, a 9 elimination win, and a 1 elim 6, so very, very good gameplay by them. And then we had Bucky, Okus, and Cam get an 8 elim win. We have 2023 Bucky, he's changed his name in Fortnite. My man is very locked in, looking good coming to grand finals. We're super excited to see them get that win. We also had some other teams pop off. Shadow Curve and Tyler didn't get a win, but they got a second, a 20 elimination second, by the way. Shadow Curve and Tyler have all gone from being higher ping to now 000 ping, which is a big buff. Shadow Curve and Tyler in that 20 elim second actually took down Pete, Cold, and Ritual in a 3v3 fight, so that team is definitely feeling the ping buff. Now, moving on over to EU, unfortunately, I didn't get a chance to watch EU. We did have Vanya, Pixie, and Marius get a 12 elim win, a 6 elim win, a 3 elim second, but they definitely could have got the win, and a 5 elim 6. So Vanya, Pixie, and Marius out third place from last FNCS Grands, looking really, really dominant coming into this Grands. We had the Italians, Rickbor, Zara, and Zangi also get one of the wins. And then we had Seti, Hari, and Kami get a win after getting a second and a third. So the polls looking very, very good coming into grand finals. We had Vidil, Savage, and Rezon also do really well. They got a fourth and a third place, so no win, but good consistent gameplay from them coming into grand finals. iDrop, Sky, and Scroll also got a 10 elim second. So a lot of our big teams popping off on EU. Speaking of FNCS and grand finals, we're not quite there yet. We have the last chance qualifiers kicking off today. I'll be live on my Twitch and YouTube channel all day if you want to swing by. This is the last chance for teams to make it to grand finals. Anyone in any division, Div 3, 2, or 1, if you're eligible to play tournaments, you are able to play this round. The way it's going to work is everyone plays. It's going to be 3 hours, 10 games. The top 33 teams make it to finals. They'll play tomorrow in 3 games. If you win one of the 3 games, you go straight through to grand. So it's a very, very tough format, and we do still have some really, really big teams that need to make it. So over on EU, some of the teams I'm looking out for, we have Fredoxy, Pablo, and Chino. We have Mongrel, Turtle, and Nako. I don't even know if they're still a trio. We're going to have to wait and see who Mongrel queues up with. We've got Nathan, CZB, and Eclipse, who just missed out on Grands, Pradaj, Rax, and Radeon, Weed, Ilusha, Nafrizi, Axe Force, and Bevies, who apparently are looking for a third. I don't know who Della's playing with. Then we have Rescard, Anas, and Sined, some really, really big names. Over on NA, we have names like Oliver OG, Npen, and Byla, Edgy, Scare, and Chance, Seek, Dash, and Vian, Noxy, Mason, and Virgo. We have Mero and Dukes. I don't even know who their third's going to be they queue up with, but there are some really big names who still need this last chance to make grand finals, so make sure you guys don't miss it. In other competitive news, Fortnite is hiring a new director of competitive. This is a very, very big deal for a few reasons. Firstly, this person is going to have a huge impact on the future of the game, so if you aren't super happy with how competitive Fortnite is running, this could help. If you are happy, like I am right now, hopefully this doesn't mess things up, but it also does reconfirm that Fortnite's putting a lot of effort into competitive. They are looking to hire a new director of competitive Fortnite. That's not something you're doing if you're going to stop putting effort into comp. We still know that Epic signed a 4-year agreement with Blast to run LAN events. We're only in year 2 of 4, so we've still got at least 2 more years after this of major tournaments, and that is some of the responsibilities of this person. So they've said they want to get someone to oversee the competitive ecosystem, guide designs of systems progression and rewards, work with Blast for FNCS, which is the team that puts on FNCS and the production, all that, and then attend playtest. Now, there's a lot more to this than that as well. I mean, if any of you guys are interested, go check out Epic Games' website for them hiring if you guys want to become the director of competitive Fortnite. But this is cool. I'm really excited to see what this means. I hope they get the right person for this role, because this is going to be a very, very big impact on the future of competitive Fortnite. So fingers crossed we end up with someone good. In other competitive news, we have the $500,000 prize split for the Pro-Am. We knew it was going to be $500,000 for the Pro-Am. We just didn't know how it was going to be split. And I've been talking about how I think that's really going to affect how people play and how they look at the event. Now, I talked about how I think the prize pool is going to be spread quite thin, and it looks like Fortnite agreed, which has upset some people, but some people really like it. So this is per duo. First place is going to get $50,000. Last place is going to get $15,000. So just by attending, you're going to get $7,500 each. If you win, you're going to get $25,000. So again, some people think that the top place prize pool should be more. It should be like $100,000 or $150,000. It's a $500,000 prize pool. Why is first only getting 25 grand each? But like I talked about, when you do events like this, they're normally for charity, because some of the teams will always be far stronger than others. It's just how these kind of events go. Again, the difference between even myself, for example, and someone like Somerset or Lacey or Ron or Typical Gamer who are currently competing is going to be a big difference. So people are going to be upset if their teams aren't fair. Now, I got Peterbot, so I'm not worried at all about that, but it could have gone differently. I could could have been given a pro who maybe isn't as good at Peterbot, and then it's much more unfair depending on who you get. So for the teams who maybe didn't end up the best, they didn't end up with a teammate they think matches their skill, they now are going to get at least $7,500 each. But also by having the top place prize pool not be so ridiculous, hopefully it makes a lot more people just have fun with the event and not stress as much. If there's an absolute god team that you think is a shoo-in, they're guaranteed to win the tournament, now they're not going to walk away with $200,000, so hopefully it won't make people as upset. So I definitely agree with Epic's ruling on this one. I fully get where they're coming from. If you get top 10, for example, you're still getting $25,000. You're going to get half first place just by getting 10. So it is hopefully going to make the event a lot more fun from that perspective. I heard people say they think that's going to make the event less fun. It's less competitive. It's going to be, you know, less exciting if someone wins it, but I still think a lot of the people going aren't going to be upset with $25,000. I'm not going to be upset if by some miracle Pete can carry me to a win, but it's not so big where if someone dies or if someone goes down, it's not going to make them super depressed. You know what I mean? If you're going for first place and someone drops on you or someone takes you down and you miss out on $100,000, you're going to be super upset. That could ruin the event. It's meant to be fun at the end of the day. I think this prize pool is still ridiculous. I think we're all blessed for being invited. So even though it's maybe not as top heavy as what a lot of people wanted, it suits the event. If they did this prize pool for FNCS, I would be complaining up a storm. I'd say it's terrible, it's uncompetitive, it's going to make the event way less exciting, but this is a pro-am. It's meant to be a bit of fun. I want to see who wins. I'm doing my best to try to put on a show and do you guys proud, but at the end of the day, it is meant to be fun. The teams aren't really balanced like that, so it makes sense the prize pool reflects the event. We are still waiting to find out what the format for the Pro-Am is. I don't know if it's going to be super placement heavy, if it's going to be elim heavy. They could turn around and make it you only get points for winning the round. I don't think they're going to do that, but we currently don't actually know what the format is. And I'm guessing the reason for that is because Fortnite has been running all of these performance reload events. We had one a couple days ago and I actually watched it, and I gotta say, I've gone from being the biggest reload tournament hater to actually kind of loving it. All they had to do was change the zones, and that's what they've done. There's a few things I still want them to work on really badly, but I've gone from being unable to watch reload tournaments and clearly giving up on them to actually thinking there is a future where we could have good reload tournaments. Obviously, Fortnite's putting a lot of effort into the Pro-Am. It's a $500,000 investment. They want the game mode to look good. They want it to run well, and they're doing a great job. The finals were super fun to watch. The new zones make it so much more exciting. It is worth pointing out the tournament zones are a little bit different from regular pub zones if you guys are playing reload, but even if you're just playing reload pubs and ranked, you've realized how much better the zones are. They don't just keep closing in on themselves anymore. They actually move around. It makes it way more competitive, and even with the loot pool, we're not going to heal off every game. In case you guys missed it, on my stream, I ran a $15,000 squad tournament in reload and OCE. Epic reached out to me and asked if I wanted to host a tournament. I said yes. I'm going to have a video off my main channel soon, but even in squads, it still wasn't just going to heal off every game, and it was so incredibly fun. We also saw some really cool strategies that came out that I haven't seen in reload too much. I'm not going to spoil the video too much, but a team, Oatley's team, wasn't in first place going into the last game, so they sent 2 of their players to drop on the team in first, try to grief their loot and try to eliminate them to give themselves the win, and then reboot back at their POI. Super smart strategy. It has me a little bit worried for the Pro-Am because I think we're definitely going to get some strategies like this, but reload as a competitive game mode now with these new zones, I think is truly, genuinely a lot of fun to watch. The loot pool is really good right now. The map is a bit small, which is making it really tough. Fortnite has added extra immunity to the sky in competitive reload. When you spawn in the sky in tournaments, you have immunity for even longer than you do in pubs and ranked, which I think is helping a lot. I really hope they add Siphon. It just feels really weird watching reload competitive endgames, seeing someone pop off and get a bunch of elims, and it just doesn't really mean anything. I would love to see that added as well. Hopefully we can get some things changed with the regular reload, or we can get a tournament reload mode so we can run customs on it. Reload is about to go back to rotating the maps, so for those of us like myself trying to practice for the Pro-Am, it's going to make it a little bit more difficult, but overall, I am a big fan. I think the reason why Fortnite hasn't announced the format for the Pro-Am is because they're still trying to figure out which format works. They're trying to figure out how many placement points they should give, how many elims they should give, and they're still trying to iron that out before they announce it. So I'm not worried that Fortnite hasn't announced it yet. I think it's because they're putting so much effort into the game mode. That's why they haven't said anything. I wasn't going to make an entire video on this, but I do want to give a shout out to the teams that are doing well in the reload game mode right now competitively. We did have the Eval Cup a couple days ago. Like I said, I watched it on NA. We had Ages and Ritual taking out a win, also getting a 5th, 3rd, and 7th. So Ages and Ritual looking very good in reload. We had Higgs and Eomza getting a first, second, and third. We had Acorn and Bolts getting a first, second, ninth, and 11th. And then we had Northern and Maniac getting a sixth, third, and a win. So a few new names and a few big names you guys would expect. We are missing some of the big names on there. Peterbot and Poyo got a 20 elim second, but couldn't get the win. They absolutely popped off. We had Muzz and Rise doing really, really well as well. Over on EU, we had Vico and iDrop getting one of the wins, getting a first, fifth, second, and fifth. So they are absolutely dominating the reload game mode. We have Queasy and Thomas HD who got a win as sixth and then a two not so great games. Then we had Pink and Shark, one of our OG IGLs pairing up with the new generation of Fragger like Shark. They got a 3 elim win, nothing too crazy, but it's a victory format. A win's a win. They also got a third, ninth, and ninth. And then we had Akira and Kurama, the Frenchies, getting a 6 elim win. So a lot of new names, a lot of old names, but some interesting duos that have been really, really fun to watch pairing up just for these events because we're in a trio meta. So it's cool to see who plays with who when it comes down to duos.